They also just this year launched Notion Mail, which is like an email service. So basically, they're trying to kind of compete with Google in terms of a suite of tools. But when I do my VIP video days, I batch record, batch edit. It's just like once you get a system down, just repeat it.
I think we're entering a period where we don't know what's real online anymore. And I think that's why as humans, it is more important than ever to be authentic, right? And to like put those messy videos up, right?
Be authentic, but also to be wary of manipulation.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Swift Start Go, the only podcast where that talks about AI, creativity, and the future of work. And man, guys, I am so excited for today's episode, okay? Because we've got a real treat for you. My guest is Jenna Redfield, a Notion creator, a marketing strategist, and speaker based right here in Minnesota. She is the founder of the podcast and YouTube show, The Optimization Toolbox, where she helps neurodivergent creators and business owners design workflows that actually work for real life. She's also the founder of the Red Thread Studio, a social media video and marketing consulting firm where she's famous for her VIP Day film shoots. You got to check those out. She's also a Notion ambassador and just came back from a conference at Notion in San Francisco, where she learned all about Notion's new AI agents and other AI tools, which is what we'll be talking about at the very beginning. But Jenna is also a very dear friend of mine. We have entirely too much in common.
Yes.
In both our personal and work lives, including our parents working at all of the same companies, which is just truly bizarre. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Notion's brand new AI agent features, how Jenna uses systems to balance creativity and consistency, and what it means to build a business at the intersection of personal storytelling, community, and technology. So Jenna, welcome to the show.
That was an amazing intro, Carolyn. Thank you.
Thank you. Listen, ChatGPT helps.
No, that was great. I was like, that's all accurate. So shout out to Chat for knowing who I am. So
at one point, it did not know about Red Thread Studio.
Oh, okay.
So I had to inform it.
Okay.
And it didn't know. There was something else it didn't know.
Maybe that I'm a Notion ambassador because I feel like I don't post that enough. You know?
Yeah, they didn't know you were a Notion ambassador and knew that you made content about Notion, but not that you were an ambassador specifically. Yeah. And obviously, it didn't know you were in the Bay Area, which like fair. Like that just.
I mean, I don't think Chat's up to date with the last week, so I'm sure you know.
Yeah, for sure. So like first things first. Like you just got back from Notion's headquarters in San Francisco. How was your trip? What can you explain to our audience? What is Notion? Like what's going on?
Oh gosh. Okay, so I discovered Notion in 2021. I was looking for I was looking for a tool to create an online directory, and I was using Airtable at the time, but it just wasn't like working. And do you remember Clubhouse back in the day? I don't know if you remember Clubhouse.
I remember Clubhouse.
Yes, there was a girl that like always talked about Notion, and I was like very Airtable focused at the time, and I was like, oh, Airtable is better than Notion. I never even used Notion. Then this one night, I just decided to use Notion. And I got stuck. I was like, what is this? I don't get it. And then I started watching this guy named August Bradley on YouTube, and he is a Notion creator. And for some reason, what he was saying really, really clicked with me. And the moment I realized what Notion could do, I was forever changed. I'm not kidding. Like I had never gone back. Like I was like, this is the most innovative, coolest software, and it fit my brain so well that I became immediately obsessed, and I've been obsessed ever since, and that's been 4 years. So yeah, that's basically my story of how I got into Notion. And then about a year into like making my own content about Notion, I found out you could be a Notion ambassador, which is basically like a super fan of Notion. You get early access to things, you get to be in a private Slack group, you get all these perks, and you have to apply to be part of it. Like they don't just accept everyone. And so because I had a large Facebook group for Notion and a YouTube channel, they were like, yeah, we've seen your stuff. Like you're a good ambassador. I was like, sweet. So I got in. I've spent the last 3 years in a Slack group, sometimes doing like group Zooms, but that's about it. Like I hadn't met anyone. And then they kept talking about this Make with Notion conference, which is basically like the Apple conference where they like announce all the new features. And it was in San Francisco, which is where they're headquartered. I had never been to San Francisco before. And so I just was like, you know what? I'm going to go. I want to meet people. I want to like see the Notion headquarters. I want to go to San Francisco. It was like all these things all together that I wanted to do. And so and they were paying for my flights. and I got a free ticket. So I was like, okay, like there's literally no reason for me not to go. So I ended up going. There was about 70 ambassadors from across the world, but then there was about 1,700 people at the conference. So we had an ambassador summit the day before the conference, which is where we got to go to the Notion headquarters, and it was amazing. And it was just one of the best weeks of my life. Gonna be honest, it was just
Oh
so
my
fun.
gosh. I'm so glad. I mean, that just sounds like such a blast. I honestly like I love going to conferences. You know, I just went on a
Hmm.
spontaneous trip to Boston to go to
Yeah,
Boston Startup Week and
yeah.
like the AI powered women's summit at MIT. And
Hmm.
it was just so much fun to
Hmm.
meet new people, be in
Yeah.
new spaces. But I feel like for you, being able to connect with all the other Notion ambassadors in
Hmm.
person, right?
Well, no one here in the Twin Cities really talks about Notion much. Like, it's
Right.
rare for me to find someone who even knows what it is, and then I get really excited and geek out with them. But
Mhm.
there's only one other Notion ambassador here. His name is Jeff. He also went on the trip, so he was there with
Yeah.
me. So I knew one person who I had met before. But other
Yeah.
than that, it was all new people, and there were people I had followed online, so I like knew of them but never met. Like Thomas Frank is an example. He's like the most
Right.
well-known YouTuber around Notion, and he actually lives in Ames, Iowa. So we kind of bonded over the
Oh,
fact that we're
that's
both from the
funny.
Midwest, and he actually
Yeah.
almost moved to Minneapolis. So I was like, that would have been so cool. And he might come up here. I tried to get him to come to Startup Week, but he was busy that week, so maybe he'll come
Yeah.
up at some point. But like, I would love to see him again because he's super like knowledgeable about Notion, and
Yeah.
he really has like a pulse on the space. I don't do Notion like full time, which some of these people do. Some of them are full time Notion consultants
Yeah.
in their countries because about 2 years ago they launched in Spanish. So a lot of the Spanish
Mm.
speaking countries now can do it like natively in Spanish, and so there's been a whole like influx of people in Spanish speaking countries. So that's
Yeah.
actually who I ended up becoming most friends with, were the Spanish speaking Notion people. They were all super
I love
nice,
it.
and I really enjoyed hanging out with them. And those are the ones that I
Yeah.
feel like I stayed in touch with the most. But yeah, it was an amazing experience. And yeah, and then I know you probably want to hear about some of the updates with Notion, or even I don't know if I should go back to kind of talking about
Yeah,
a little
can
bit
we
about.
quickly,
Yeah,
before we go any further, because I think we still haven't explained what
yeah,
Notion is,
yeah,
other than it's not Airtable.
yes,
So if we could just really cover the basics of
yeah.
what Notion is, why somebody might want to use it,
Mhm.
and like what it's useful for, I think that would be marvelous.
Yeah, it's so hard sometimes to explain because it does so many things, but basically it is a productivity project management tool that you can use individually or with a team. So they're actually moving more towards the enterprise space, trying to use it with larger businesses, but it can be used
Mhm.
as a wiki, a database, a spreadsheet, a gallery, a calendar. They also just
Right.
this year launched a Notion Mail, which is like an email service. So basically they're trying to kind of compete with Google in terms of a
Mhm.
suite of tools, but basically it's a way to organize your ideas, thoughts, images. I'm a collector of things. So for me, having a place to store all the information that I have, database, they call it knowledge management, is kind of like the general like term for this type of software. But it's cool because you can use it with clients, you can use it with your teammates. It is just this, they use Legos as kind of uh, a symbol for Notion because you're building blocks and you can kind of customize it in any way that you want. And they actually had custom Legos for us at the conference, so I have a little
Oh,
Lego that I made.
fun.
But yeah, it was founded about 10 years ago in San Francisco, and it really got big like during the pandemic. I would say was kind of when it kind of blew up. It's used by a lot of college students to help them with note taking. It's used by businesses. I use it to help like plan my social media. I use it to organize everything in my life, literally client work. It helps me organize my outfits in my closet. Like I can use it for everything. And so instead of using a ton of different tools, I just use Notion for the most part when it comes to note taking and planning.
Yeah.
So,
And it's really the type of tool, like when you go onto it, kind of looks like a regular Google Doc, and you're like,
mhm.
what do you mean? It
Yes,
does all of these things, but
yes,
there's all these different integrations, and if you get really good at it, there's a lot of ways that you can use it to just like
yes.
really automate your life and
Hmm.
things like that. And so I personally use it like on a very minimal level, right? So I do have one for my business with Start Go, and I share it with my interns, and we write like all of our documents there. We plan like when are our videos coming out, like this one, who's going to be on there, putting all of our questions and things in there. And we have some processes and things like that, but honestly, it's like pretty minimal. We're not utilizing all of the tools. And in my personal life, I use it as a way to like store information or plans. Like I haven't finished this. Honestly, I've barely gotten started, but basically I started like making a database of how to use every like tool or thing that you need in our house.
Oh, nice. That's
Um,
great.
so like different power tools
Mm,
or like, oh, where is the furnace? How do you turn
mhm.
it on and off?
That's
Because
great.
I figure there's a lot of stuff that I know, there's a lot of stuff that my husband Dave knows, but there's a lot that the other one does not know. And I was like, it probably would make sense for us to have that there. And then it's also supposed to be like a database of these are all the people we call, right? Like this is our plumber, this is our
A
this,
Rolodex.
right?
I call my CRM a Rolodex because it's a bunch
Yeah.
of. So I actually have every single contact that I know. Every client is in there. So I have like email, phone. And you can even upload their picture. So you could have like literally almost like a LinkedIn of like your entire contacts, and then you could put to-do lists. I mean, there's related databases, so you can relate them to each other. So that's like a big one. But yeah, and it's gotten so much even smarter over the last couple of years. Like there's so much more it can do with other apps, and that's kind of some of the announcements at this was about the AI tools and just I feel like it's gonna like I don't think people understand how much more powerful it's gotten since this announcement. Like I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of these updates. So, Jenna, like, what happened in the Bay Area? What did you discover? What is new about Notion that we need to know about?
Yeah, so actually at the Ambassador Summit, we got a little sneak peek before the conference of some of the
Nice.
updates. And actually, the CEO, Ivan, actually came and was a surprise guest at the summit. So we got to be in a room of like
Fun.
70 people with the CEO and the founder. And he was so interesting and cool and like very thoughtful in his responses. But then he did the keynote and basically some of the probably the biggest one is they're launching AI agents, both personal and custom. The personal one has just been rolled out, and the custom one is coming soon. But basically,
Mhm.
it's like ChatGPT inside of Notion. If I had to describe it,
Right.
it's basically. But what's cool is it can search your entire Notion for information. And can do automations within. So that's what the agent side. So for example, I started testing it the other day, and I was in a certain database, and so when you're inside of like the chat on the side, it'll show you what page you're in. And I said, change all of these status icons to a red dot. And it took a little bit of time, but it did it. So I didn't have to go in and individually change every single page, which would have taken me 30 minutes probably or whatever. Like, so it saved me time doing some of these monotonous things that used to take me hours. And now it can automate it, and it's smart, and it can do so many different things that kind of ChatGPT can do. And it actually uses a couple of different LLMs. It uses OpenAI as well as Claude, I believe. So it isn't just OpenAI. And basically, it's its own thing. Because when Notion AI first launched, it was about a year or two ago. It was like a feature. Now it is like embedded in the software. And it is they told me that they rebuilt it from the ground up, which was so great because the first time I used Notion AI, I was not impressed. I was comparing it to ChatGPT, and I felt like ChatGPT outperformed every single time because at the time it was only for writing. It was only like the writing side of AI. Now it's more of an automation tool, which I think is very exciting because it now my goal is to start uh, using Notion AI more than ChatGPT because I want to see it will get to know me more, and then I can use instead of doing everything in ChatGPT and then copying it over to Notion, I could just do it all in.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. So, what was the most impressive use case that you saw Notion advertising when it came to using AI, like their AI agents, their AI solutions on Notion?
Well, my excitement is when it's going to be around using other apps. So like email.
Right.
So in like using like a ChatGPT like thing to automate an email. Like my goal is I want to use the automations to replace my contact form with a Notion form and then bring it into Notion. So like there's certain things that I want to do in terms of automation, and then maybe it automatically sends an email once that form comes in, which right now I don't know if it can do, but I have to figure out how to set that up. But for me, I think the biggest things were just the idea that you can use automations in general with triggers.
Right.
So like you can set it to run on a timer, or you can The agent can do, so basically they said that the agents can work for like 20 minutes in the background without you.
Right.
So I'm not sure what the difference is between that and like ChatGPT. I'm not sure what their time limit is.
Yeah, I'm not sure either, actually. I haven't played with the AI agent feature on Chat GPT at all. I've played with like Agent AI and like a few other things, but and part of that was because it was paywalled. I think ChatGPT's agent might still be paywalled to the 200 limit. I don't know. I need to double check. Yeah. So I've like already played with agents, but not in that capacity.
Yeah, I did want to mention that some of the AI features are not on the free plan. So just for people to know that you might have to be on the business or enterprise plan. But if you might be grandfathered in on the plus plan. So because they're trying to get it for like new signups. Because I think right now, what's cool about Notion, it is a free software, but they at some point need to monetize. It's like they monetize through the business and the enterprise levels. But what's cool is they keep it free for all the regular people that are just using it,
Yeah.
personally.
Like even for my business, which is a baby business, we're just getting started trying to figure out how we're going to scale. Like I don't pay for Notion and I just use the freebie features. And that's part of the reason why I only use the document stuff is because I'm just paying for the free. I'm not paying it.
Well, it took you so long to pay for ChatGPT.
I know, it took me so long to pay for ChatGPT.
I could not believe it. I was like, I'm paying for ChatGPT before you are, so that was kind of funny.
Part of there's a few things for that. First is I try my best not to spend money, which is a bit too a fault. It's a bit of a problem that I have, where I do really avoid it.
Yes.
The other thing was I thought it was valuable to figure out how could you use the most of every free tool. Because a lot of the content that I was making, a lot of the people who were watching were people who had never used it before and just wanted to test it out. So I thought it was kind of useful to, not know all of the paid feature things, but it was when the much more polished image generator came out and the Studio Ghibli meme happened that I was like, okay, I want to use ChatGPT to redecorate my bedroom. Like, this is where we're at. So, that was the breaking point. And now I'm debating, I don't know. I use ChatGPT so much and it knows me so well. And so I love that about it. But I keep hearing from everybody else that Claude is better. And I'm really tempted.
I don't think I'm gonna leave ChatGPT, at least for now, just because you're right. Like it does know me really well, and I'm gonna be honest, it still works better than Notion AI for certain things.
Yeah,
and I'm still gonna continue to use it for certain things. Like I don't think Notion AI is great at like image generation.
Right.
Like it's more for the automation stuff. That is what Notion AI is for. I would say not even for writing. But one thing that they do have that just was launched this year is AI meeting notes. So basically, how ChatGPT had like the meeting notes, you can now do it in Notion as well. So they have that feature where it'll just like record in the background and kind of like summarize it. But what's cool is with the automations, it will automatically add to-do lists to your to-do list. So to-do items from so you could even ask chat, hey, based off of this chat, like move all the items that were like considered to-dos to my to-do list and put them at high priority and tag. You can literally like write out that part was very exciting to me because otherwise I'd have to manually go and add all those things from that chat to my to-do list, right? And now it's automated.
Because Notion has like full integration with like email and calendars and stuff, right?
It's coming out. Okay. So they're rolling out. I think it's coming because they have their own Notion email and Notion calendar. I think it's going to be a rollout within the next couple months. But right now Notion AI works fully within Notion, but it's also going to be adding things like Google Drive and other apps because my goal is eventually I would not love to use Zapier. Like I'd love to just have Notion be a connector to other apps because right now it's like you have to go to Zapier, you have to go to, what other connection make.com. Like there's all these other tools that you connect to others. I'm like, it would be amazing if it was just a straight connection from Notion to an app.
Yeah.
That would be awesome because what happens is that I feel like every day I'm like, this Zapier, app was an error. And I'm like, what did I do wrong? It's like, I'm not great at Zapier. So it's just like, I set it up and then something goes wrong and then it doesn't work. So it feels like a lot of work for me. But what's also cool, I didn't mention this. one of the things I struggled with Notion was formulas. I never really understood them. I'm not a formula person. Now you can Notion AI a formula. So you can just tell Notion what you want it to do and it will create the formula for you.
Right.
So
and
all
like
these
kind of the
people
Google
teach,
Sheet style things for the database. That's what you mean?
yeah, so it'll literally like type out the formula for you
Mhm.
and it's going to be perfect because like you're not going to have any mistakes. Because I used to have to look up formulas
Oh, yeah.
on, or like at like that blew my mind. And it was funny because I was sitting next to Thomas Frank, who was he at the keynote, and he's like the formula guy. And I was like sitting next to him, I'm like, I wonder what he thinks about this, because it's like that's going to take away a lot of his like usefulness,
Right.
because he doesn't need to teach it. Like people can just make up their own formulas and it will just automatically do it. So I don't know, that was an interesting thing to experience in person for sure.
Yeah. And that's the type of thing too, where, yeah, when I'm in Google Sheets or Excel, I really struggle with remembering all the different formulas of like, how do you get this to do this, and blah, 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 blah.
I'm not good at formulas at all.
And I haven't even bothered trying to do it in Notion, but now that you can just like type and say, hey, how do I do this? Like, can you help me multiply this category by this category, instead of like trying to remember like equals A2 times 475, like, right? Like being able to just like say, can you make these two multiply? Cool, thanks.
To make these two databases talk to each other in a way that like I'm trying to make it work, because a lot of it is like how to get a roll up, because a roll up is basically a bunch of information from multiple databases like summarized, is basically what a roll up is. And so it's like I use roll ups more than I use formulas, but at the same time I just like I was always stuck with formulas, and people would always be like, can you teach formulas? I'm like, no, I don't know them. Why would you want? I'm not the formula girl. Like there's other people that teach it. Like I'm a video maker. Like that's not my forte. And so, but if you are a Notion consultant, they just relaunched two things, actually three. Notion Academy, which is how you can learn Notion.
Oh, interesting.
So it's like, I think it's free, which is unfortunate because I also have a course. So it's like I try to promote that, but this is probably better. I don't know. I know. But then mine also comes with a template though. So like if you get my course, you also get a template. But they also launched inside of their Notion Marketplace, which used to be called the Notion Template Gallery. It's now called Notion Marketplace. You can find consultants in there that are certified. So they have a certification program that they're redoing. So basically you can become Notion certified as a consultant, and that's a harder thing to go through. You have to go through a lot of things, but you do need to know formulas. That's why I brought it up. But you can have like almost like a profile on the Notion Marketplace as someone to be hired if you need help with Notion, and it's specific to different industries. So it's interesting. Some of the people I met there at the conference were specific Notion consultants for like healthcare, or like a Notion consultant for startups, or a Notion consultant for somebody in a Spanish-speaking country or in French. Like, so there's different people that have different focuses and niches. So you might maybe you have an organization that has 10,000 people that you need to do. You might need someone who has more experience on the enterprise level. So it's like really depends on. And so it was very interesting to see how they're really supporting the consultants of Notion as well.
Well, and also what I find, like, separate from like Notion, the platform itself, if you're just thinking about like Notion's strategy of working with social media influencers and all these consultants and all of these people, and inviting them to conferences and providing them with resources and building these communities and things like that, what a phenomenal way to get people to promote your brand, and like to get really dedicated super fans to like want to go out and like talk about all of these things, right? Like even if you're listening to this and you're like, I have no idea what Notion is, I don't know if these AI automation tools are for me, blah 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 blah. Like if you are a marketer or a creative person and you're working with businesses and you're trying to figure out like how do we get the word out, like being able to utilize your biggest fans to like have them help you out, I think is just really incredible. And like the actual infrastructure for this, I think is really fascinating.
I think Notion actually doesn't do a lot of marketing. Like they truly rely on word of mouth and like YouTuber. Like honestly, I only found out about it through YouTube. I'm like, I never saw it, but it was interesting because this is kind of a funny story. There is some ads in San Francisco for Notion because it is their headquarters. So I saw some billboards. But I went the first night I was there, I went to a networking event, like a meetup that I found, because I'm very much into networking, and I was like, I have nothing else to do the first night. And so, but I was telling people, they're like, what are you doing here? I was like, I'm in town for the Notion conference. And they're like, no one knew what it was. It was, even in San Francisco. So if you're not in that space, you've probably never heard of it. And so it is kind of like a hidden secret, but yet there's 100 million users worldwide. So it's not like, it's like a lot of people use it like at work, or they, and some of them just use it because their company's using it. But then there's people that like immediately love it. It's just kind of like a yes or no kind of for people. And I feel like for me, it was just like an immediate yes.
And honestly, like I use it as a Google Docs replacement, and it started because I had run out of out of space on my Google Drive, and I didn't want to pay, and so I was like, "What's a way I can like keep writing things?" And then I was like, "What's this Notion thing?" And that's when I started playing with it, and now I like it more than Google Docs. So.
You know what I should do? We should do an episode where I redo your Notion workflow.
That would be hilarious. I would love that.
If we got your interns in on the call too, and I just show you, like if I like did an audit
as a podcast episode, that'd be fabulous.
That would be so great, or like a bonus or something.
That would be because let's do it.
I feel like that would, because like there's so many things. But here's the thing about Notion that I struggle with is I'm not a consultant.
Right.
And so, but I have the way that I like to think about Notion in the way that I like to do it. And what you have to do as a consultant is figure out how the company needs to use it. Right. And so you have to be good at listening and understanding the needs. And I feel like I haven't had enough experience in that to be a good consultant versus I'm just like, this is the way that my brain works and the way that I teach it and the way that I think it should go. And it's like, and people can take that or leave that. They can take parts, they can take pieces. They don't have to take the entire thing.
Yeah. AI may be stealing your job, but do you really want it stealing your wedding vows? Don't outsource your wedding to a statistical probability machine who doesn't have enough data on your love life. Try getting hitched with Shabazz for a fully human officiant with 100% fewer hallucinations. Link in the description below. Because Jenna, you are an absolute marketing machine when it comes to churning out content. So we're going to pivot out of Notion now. We've escaped. We're in the social media marketing and video and AI space now. So Jenna, you make so much content. For anybody who doesn't already follow her, she's got YouTube videos every week. She's got LinkedIn posts every day, multiple days a week, something like that. And so much more. And, people tell me I put out a lot of content, but Jenna puts me to shame. So Jenna, like, what is your secret? Like, how do you do it all? And I think you do this for clients too, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Are you talking about specifically video, or are you talking about like all of it?
All of it, but also I think your video VIP day is just absolutely stellar.
Oh, thank you. Well, I will say some of it is that I've been doing this for a long time, so I have sped up over the years, and I just have experience. I don't know, but I will say, like, one of the things that a lot of people don't think about is listening to what people have to say for content ideas. So sometimes I'll be in conversation and I'll say something, or somebody else will say something, and I'm like, that's a great LinkedIn post, or that's a great video idea, and I'll maybe like write it down in my notes. But I think turning anything into content is something you just have to have a mindset for. And so I think that's the first step. Then for me, having a consistent calendar. So for me, I post every Tuesday for myself on I think you do this the same. You have like a weekly thing. I think when I was not doing that, I wasn't as consistent because I would just kind of post randomly. For me, it's like every Tuesday I have a YouTube video or a podcast coming out. And so I just need to know. I set aside Mondays to work on it. And so the morning of Mondays, I'm like, I just time block, and I'm like, whatever is coming out tomorrow, I will either film something or I will edit something that's coming out for tomorrow. And I use CapCut as my main editing tool right now. Mm-hmm. I love it on desktop because it's got so many cool features. Mm-hmm. I just got a new camera. I don't even know if I told you that. I got a new camera. And so, yes, it was an investment. But I had a 10-year-old DSLR. It was kind of losing steam. And I was like, I need it. So I got a mirrorless one. It's a Canon R50V, which is made specifically for like video. Yeah. And it also can shoot vertically, which is very exciting. Nice. So I'm going to hopefully use it today with a client. But when I do my VIP video days, I batch record, batch edit. So basically I edit kind of the same style for every video, and I'm doing it all inside of CapCut, export it using Google Drive to send it to my clients. It's just like, once you get a system down, just repeat it. Right. And that's kind of my whole thing. And like with LinkedIn, if I come up with an idea, I'll just schedule it to go out like on another day. So like last month, I think I had like the entire month scheduled. Wow. Because I just kept coming up with ideas, and I'm like, well, I can't post it today because you
already posted too many times.
Yeah, well, like one post a day is like max for LinkedIn, because otherwise it's not going to be like shared. Sometimes I'll like repost other things, but I'm never going to share a post more than once a day. And I think for me, like LinkedIn is my main platform for like myself and for like my video services. And then I think about social media kind of in different lanes, but I actually just had a guy on my podcast this week who talked about the idea between a personal brand and a professional brand. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was very interesting. And he's like, you should think about it more as a professional brand. And I was like, that's so true. I never really thought about it that way. Right. So I think for me, Instagram is more of my like day-to-day. Yeah. TikTok is more of like my random thoughts that like, I even changed my TikTok name to not even be my name because I just want it to be like super random. And then YouTube is mostly Notion and like my podcast and my Substack. So it's, I don't know, I kind of have different zones, and I don't know if that's the right approach, but like I am coming up with a lot of content every week, and that overall kind of helps people see me as a content creator as well as somebody who knows content. So my goal is just, I want people to think of me when they're thinking of somebody who does this in this space. And I think that's been working for me.
Well, so. And I kind of love it too, because I know, because I follow you almost everywhere except for maybe TikTok, and that's just because I'm not on TikTok anymore. Yeah. But like with the LinkedIn stuff, it's always like something useful. And I'm like, oh, this is super useful. I don't watch all of your YouTube videos. I only watch some of them. But that's because I'm just
I probably don't watch all yours either.
I know. But like I see all your LinkedIn posts, and then I get most of your like Instagram stories and like Instagram content. But what I like about the Instagram stuff is it feels like, oh, I'm getting caught up with Jenna. Like, what is Jenna up to this week? Or like, what is Jenna up to today? Yeah. On like a more personal level. And like, because we are friends, like we're not just work buddies. I personally like that because it makes it easier for me to be like, what is Jenna up to? Instead of me like having to call, which sounds terrible.
Yeah, no, it's true, because I think of Instagram stories as like my diary. Right. Like, it's like what I'm doing. It's very much like, it also helps me remember what I was doing that day. Like sometimes it's not for people, it's for me. Like it's for me to be like, oh, documenting. And I'm like, if I kind of have like a idea, it's like, should I share this or not? Right. There's always that thought of, should I share this? Should I not? And I'm like, if I think one person will find it interesting, then that's like the threshold. Right. So it's
you're definitely like testing ideas in there.
Yeah, well, and people respond to my stories. So it's like some days, like I think I posted yesterday and there was like a post that had like 6 or 7 hearts. And I'm like, oh, so people are liking the stories. Yeah. So it's like, that also helps me and tells me what they like. Yeah. So then I like want to post more of that. And that's true with any social media post, is if a post, like I did that post on Monday, or I think it was Monday, about me speaking at Startup Week. That posted so well. And it's because I probably hadn't done a video in a couple weeks or something. And and I was announcing something big, but I got like 20 comments, like over 80 likes. And I was like, oh my gosh, like people are really excited about me speaking at Startup Week. And like so many people telling me that they're coming. And I posted that on Instagram and it got maybe like, 10 likes, so it's just like, it's different because like it's on LinkedIn and that's where I do more of the professional stuff. Yeah. And so again, like I have so many interests that it's hard, because like if I post about Notion stuff, half people are like, what's Notion? I know. I'm like, well, if you follow my YouTube channel, if you follow my Facebook group, you'll know I'm like really big in the Notion space. Yeah. But I don't always post that other places. Yeah. So. Oh
my gosh. And sorry. No worries. I'm like heavily relating to, because I know with when I was doing the vlog about building the startup, that was kind of like a mix of the personal and the business, but I think in a way that was like fairly balanced. And it was really interesting to see what people responded to, and it led to people would reach out and be like, oh, hey, have you thought about doing this? Oh, you want to do that? I know somebody. And they would like connect me to someone else. Like it was really fascinating how like having that public, building in public, became an amplifier for everything that I was doing, in addition to like just being a way to keep up with people or whatever. Right.
Yeah. I think it shows more of your personal interests, and like people relate to you. So this is actually part of my talk that I'm doing at Startup Week. If you're in the
Yep.
Twin Cities, I'm speaking on the 7th of October. And it's basically one of the things that I talk about is what's a trigger that people think of when they think of you.
Mm-hmm.
So like, for me, like it could be the color red. A lot of people tell me that because I talk about that. Some of it is like, I love saunas. So if people are like, oh my gosh, Jenna sauna, they like think of that. Or like ADHD stuff. People always send me ADHD stuff. So it's like
Yeah.
there's certain things about me that people remember because I talk about it enough.
Yeah.
Or my color analysis. I talk about that all the time.
Mm.
People are always, coming up to me being like, love the colors you're wearing because
Yeah.
they know that I did that. So there's certain like things that I just have
Yeah. Yeah, and well, let's break it down because not only is this something that has like become part of your brand, you also are, I can't talk to you without talking about frameworks, right? Like Jenna, for any of you guys who don't know, Jenna has a framework for I think maybe everything, or maybe like 5 for everything.
do. And Carolyn saw my framework gallery in Notion
Yeah.
when I was sing for our mini bar talk, and it's gotten better. Like I think I had too many in that. But I also collect frameworks. That's
Yeah, well,
so
you showed me a folder on your
mhm.
desktop that
Yep,
had
that's
like
a Notion. Yep.
hundreds
Hmm.
of these
Yep.
frameworks,
Hmm.
but there's one of them that I have been hearing
Yeah.
you talk more about than the rest,
Hmm.
and that's the
Hmm.
one that you're talking about at Startup Week. So can
Yes.
you tell
Yes.
us about the repeat framework?
So that is the talk that eventually is going to be my book, which I want to write. So this is the one that it actually was like an offshoot of another talk I did where I was trying to come up with like a framework for this type of thing. And I realized I was like, this is the framework I've been looking for. And I will say that I create a lot of my frameworks in ChatGPT. So I do use AI for them to like, I come up with what I want to be in the framework and then it helps me come up with the acronym because I'm not an acronym like comer up or with person, like yeah. So I just use ChatGPT for the actual letters, but like everything else, I'm like, I want it to include this, this, and this, and this. So the repeat method is basically a 6-letter framework that helps people be more memorable and with different parts of what they do, whether it's who they are, what they do, what they look like, their name, that sort of thing. Because what I found is that if you have too confusing of a brand or a business or something that people they just kind of look through you and they don't really remember you, say that you met at a networking event and then you see them 2 months later and they completely forgot they met you, that's not really a good first impression. That's not really good for your brand. You want people to be like, I remember you. Like, I remember talking to you because of something you said or the way that you looked or whatever. So my goal with this talk and with this book is to help people start thinking, how can I be more memorable? How can the things that I say have people repeat it back to me so that, like, for example, the VIP day that I do, that is something that's not a word I came up with. VIP days are a concept in the world, but like I call it a VIP video day and like that is super catchy. It's something that people understand. I create a framework within my own VIP day. So it's actually on my website, but it's like for me, I have a very, very systemized process. And I think everyone should create a framework for their own business and like for their own brand. And whether it's an acronym or not, I think you need to have something custom that you are able to own that then you can teach or you can have people remember.
Makes it easier to remember. Like when I think about frameworks, I think about like, and I'm not much a frameworks person. I'm very disorganized. But what I think about is like these are the steps to making sure that these things work, right? And so your repeat framework is all about how do you find an idea that you can repeat over and over and over again to make sure that people remember you. And I think the one that like has been really sticking with me lately, that's one of yours, is your last name's Redfield. You did a color analysis and discovered that red looks fabulous on you. So now you wear red all the time. You renamed your company to be the Red Thread to tie that in there. And are there any other red elements that I'm missing in there as well?
Um,
I feel like there's one more.
well, red, yeah, red. I look good in red. Last name's Redfield, Red Thread Studio. Um, no, I think that's it. But
And
like,
I
I
think that
think
makes it iconic because it makes it so that like if you walk in the room and I see red, I'm like, is that Jenna? Like literally.
yeah. Well, red is not a very worn color by a lot of people.
Yeah,
Like a lot of people are scared to wear it, and I think for me, it's a color of fire. Like I'm a Leo in
right.
the astrology, and I'm like, YouTube, their logo's red. So like video as well. So for me, having Red be part of my business cards, part of my name tag. Like my LinkedIn picture is me wearing red. Like I tell people it, and the moment I tell them, they remember it more than just seeing it. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes they don't really notice, but it is supposed to be kind of subconscious. But it's also like once I tell them, it's much, much, much easier for them to not only remember who I am, but also my name. And the Red Thread Studio is a name that people immediately understand. It's something that actually ChatGPT did help me name it, but it was like I spent hours trying to figure out, okay, what's a good name that is memorable. Like I really had to think because I've heard other people's businesses names and I'm like, that's not a very good name because like I don't remember it. It's hard to spell. Like, you know what I'm saying? So like I like yours because it's easy to remember and then also it's part of your name, you know, too.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people don't know that it's your middle name, right? So
Yeah,
it's like
so Swift Start Go. My middle name is Swift, and I can I get any of that Taylor Swift
I know.
SEO bonus? I don't know if I can. Maybe.
Maybe they think you're basing off Taylor Swift. I don't know, but that is memorable as a name because people know Taylor Swift. So it's like again, like in any way that you can. And yours is, you know, kind of an alliteration as well. And mine is a rhyming red thread, you know, so it's like, I think for businesses, I read a book about naming, like a book about naming your business. And it was really interesting because it made me realize how important it is. Can you explain your brand in under 10 words or less? There's a great book called A Microscript Rules. It is the book that I think changed my business more than anything because it made me realize if you can't explain your business in under 10 words, it's too complicated.
Right.
So you have to like for me, it's like I create videos for busy entrepreneurs in 8 hours. Like that could be my business. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that's under 10 words. Yeah. So having like a framework like that, every business needs one. And if you don't, your business.
Yeah. Well, I also think it's really important because like one of the biggest concerns right now in the social media space, especially with AI, is like how to stand out in a sea of AI generated content. Right? Like everybody is kind of melding together and looking the same. And I feel like your frameworks and like both the repeat framework and then also just like how do you make sure that we already talked about with the red and all these things, but I feel like all of these things like put together are really good strategies for standing out and making sure that you are remembered, right? And not just like part of the blur.
Yeah. I think I hate to say this, and I know not everyone will agree, but I do think putting yourself either in front of the camera or on camera is one of the differentiators at this point because anyone can write something and it could be AI, it could be you. But with video, I know there are these AI, you know, what they
avatars,
call it, like but I can tell immediately with some of them, you know. But even if they are AI or whatever, it's still you, and I'm still seeing you, so that's more memorable than just having something written. So having a combo of writing and video to me is like still the main differentiator. That's why I think TikTok is still working because you can tell immediately if it's like an AI video. Yeah. Like it's just the vibe is weird and like it just doesn't work on TikTok. Yeah. The algorithm is not going to promote it. And you could tell the people that are sitting in their bedrooms filming, those are the ones that do well. You know, people just want real. And I think with me, like I do use AI a lot. Like I use it I'm not a great writer. So what I'll do is I'll say, just rewrite this a little better. Like I'll say what I want to say, but I'm just like from a grammar or like from just like a layout perspective, it's like I'm just brain dumping and this is exactly what I want to have happen, but it's just like help me write it better. And then it knows my voice as well. So it's like this is what I would say. And I'm not like afraid to say that I use AI to help me write, but it's also like I don't like promote that. You know what I'm saying?
Well, also I feel like your work isn't necessarily like super scripted either. Like you have outlined when you talk about things. Yeah.
Most of the stuff I do is not scripted. I'm talking about specifically like LinkedIn posts.
Right. Where I'm writing something on LinkedIn, something like that.
That's about like everything else is I always come up with the ideas myself. It's just how do I package them? I think that AI helps with like, okay, what's a good title? And then like, so we both have Substack. I don't know if you've used this. There's a new tool on Substack where it's A/B testing. So when you're about to publish either a blog post or email, there's now an option to A/B test two different titles to see which one gets more clicks. And so and what I find is that it's always the alternative one that ends up winning. So the one that I originally thought was going to work, it's always the second one. Always. It's so
Yeah.
funny. And so, but then it'll send it to, I think, 100 or a couple hundred people. And then it will test it, and then whichever one wins within that like hour, it will like send the rest the winner.
That is so
So that it's
helpful.
really cool. So
That's
I
like
highly
a
recommend
common
checking that
thing
out.
in like tech and marketing, but like hasn't been a common thing in like content creation. And then people are like trying to
Mhm.
build, like I know in
They,
YouTube, it's like,
YouTube
why won't
thumbnail,
YouTube
yeah.
have they added it yet?
I think they have. I think it's rolling out where you can have like thumbnail variations to see which one gets clicks. But I do think it makes sense because it's like we don't know. We like that's the thing. It's like YouTube may not know. ChatGPT might not know because I'm trying to be like, what's the most optimized title? And it's like sometimes it's emotion based. Sometimes we don't know what people are going to click on. We can kind of predict, but at the same time, you can't fully predict social, and that's the hard part about being a social media manager is you don't know what's going to take off. You don't know if this video that took you 5 minutes to make is going to go viral or the one that took you an hour. It always seems to be the one that's maybe less work goes viral, and it's like you have everything you put out has the potential to go viral. I went really viral last summer, and that changed my perspective of like anything I put on TikTok could go viral, so make sure you have covered all the things that are going to be in the comments. Like I'm very much cognizant of that more so than I've ever been. And it is sometimes I'm not wearing makeup and it's just like, oh man, that one went viral. It's like 50,000. Yeah, I was like, I just kind of did that randomly. But at the same time, I'm making content knowing that it could potentially go viral. And I think some people are scared of that. A lot of people are like, I don't want to
Right.
go viral. They're like, I don't want everyone to see this. And I'm like, that's not the right mindset to have is like it could go viral and that would be amazing for you. So just don't put anything out there that you don't want to potentially go viral. That's just my
Yeah,
2 cents.
yeah. And also, if something does go viral and you don't want it to,
You can
you can
delete it.
you can delete it. You can delete it.
Unless other people take it and like use it, it goes that viral where
Yeah,
other
yeah,
people are.
yeah, yeah.
But
But if
yeah,
you
I mean
see
that's
that it's
rare.
starting to get more views and like the comments are getting like really, because you've had to deal with some
Yeah.
pretty toxic
Oh
comments.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I left TikTok for a month after
right.
that
I
experience.
remember.
But I what I also know as and this is something that because I'm older and more experienced, I knew it was going to blow over. It was a very temporary thing. This
Yeah,
isn't forever.
it was a
So it's
short-term
like
thing.
I just took a break and I came back and people forgot about it. People have very short-term memories when it comes to the internet.
Yeah.
Like they will forget things within weeks and then be like, "Oh yeah, I forgot." And then they don't care anymore because at the moment they were super like
Yeah.
intense about it and then they just completely move
Is it
on.
okay if we share what that video was, or are we trying to?
Sure, I don't. I
Yeah.
mean, it's on. You,
So Jenna kind of broke the
yeah, the
Blake Lively Justin Baldoni
yeah,
story on
it was
TikTok.
insane. And I have a whole Substack article about it if you want to read it.
I know
Maybe
that
kill.
was absolutely wild.
It
And
was
it was
yeah. You
funny too
probably
because it
missed
was
it.
not like tied to your brand at all. It was just
No.
like you spotted a pattern and was like, "Hey, why aren't they talking?" And then it turned
Yeah, and I
ended
that's
up
why
in
I changed my
in the
TikTok
Vanity
name.
Fair.
I'm like, because like articles were using my full legal government name, and I'm like, I don't know if I want this. Like,
Right.
if I had done it under a username? I'm curious what would have happened. Would people have found me? I don't know. Like,
I
it's
don't
just
know.
interesting.
It's so bizarre.
But it was a very odd time in my life. But I learned a lot from that about going viral. A lot about like just like what the negative effects of going viral is in terms of the backlash of just I don't think I did anything wrong. It was more the story people were upset about. It wasn't really me. And so I was just kind of like a conduit or a vessel of the story. And I was just kind of like trying to figure it out from a moral, ethical, like journalistic perspective of what should I share, what shouldn't I share. And I ended up speaking at St. Thomas a couple months later about the ethics of social media, because I think that's something that a lot of people would have just taken what like a rumor or something and just posted it. But for me, it was more of like, I heard something and I'm like, I need to verify this before I share it. And then it wasn't until months later that things came out that I already knew about. And so, but now who knows if it's even true, but like whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like I don't even pay attention anymore because it's just become a crapshoot over
Well, and
there.
it's
Like
so
it's just,
interesting too because um did you so the that experience reminded me of a lot of the hate that Meghan Markle gets.
oh yeah.
And I don't know
Mhm.
that you've seen this, but it turns out that on Twitter, Meghan Markle was getting harassed on a
Oh
daily
yeah.
basis by all
Yeah.
these different accounts.
Yeah. Mhm.
And it turned out that hundreds of these accounts were run by 16 individuals.
Oh wow.
And they were all just AI bots, just like
Yeah.
continuing to like harass every single thing. And when you realize that like these hundreds or thousands of people are like dogpiling, right?
Hmm.
And then you realize, oh no, it's actually just 16 people. That to me
Yeah.
is just bananas. And so with that situation in particular, I was kind of like, how many of these people are real?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
right?
that's what the whole lawsuit is about now is
Yeah.
like, are these bots? Because I could see it in my own comments. I'm like, man, there are so many people comment. Like, I just couldn't believe it. And so
Yeah.
I could see why like there needs to be some investigation into that. And there was a whole article. I don't know. I think I sent it to you about the
Yeah.
bot situation,
Mhm.
and it was like how like bot farming is like it was so interesting. But I do think that the comment section can be a very, very tough place to be because you then get influenced by all the comments.
Yeah. Well,
So I do think that, yeah,
if they're bots and if they're trying to manipulate us, whether it's
uh,
Meghan Markle or the crazy
politics,
Blake Lively,
yeah,
Justin
for
Baldoni
sure,
case,
yeah,
or like an election,
yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
it's I think we're entering a period where we don't know what's real online anymore,
Eh,
and I think that's why, as
yeah.
humans, it is more
Mhm.
important than ever to be authentic, right, and to like put those messy videos up,
Be,
right,
be authentic, but also to be wary of
right.
manipulation and just having some basic internet knowledge. And like, I know that there's lots of stories about older people getting tricked by AI
Mhm.
and like even younger people getting
Oh,
tricked by AI, like
children
kids,
and
Yeah,
quiet psychosis issues, like, there are children committing suicide,
yeah.
like, this is crazy.
It's yeah, like and I don't know if you've been following Rapture Talk on TikTok at all. Have you been following this?
I kind of found out about it a little bit late. I was like, "Why do I have so many videos in my feed about the rapture?" Like, I
It's
sent a note
really
to my
big on
friend, and I was
TikTok.
like, "Why?" I'm like, "Why is the rapture trending? Did I miss a memo?"
No, no, and it's like it's crazy because like social media can and religion and all these things can like cause psychosis, and like you're talking about like the AI psychosis. Like you just keep if you keep spiraling into like a specific thing, or you're using AI to like just reinforce your beliefs without having any outside perspective, it can be very dangerous. And so I do think that there are fortunately like our millennial generation kind of is a little bit more immune than maybe like older or younger, because like we kind of were around before like social. And so like I do think that I hate to say like the millennials are like the most smart people on the internet, but I feel like they are because we are able to kind of be in both worlds. And I do think like unfortunately the younger generation that like grew up during COVID, like they were just so online, and then the older people, they don't quite understand the online world as much, so it's a little bit more confusing to them. They believe more things because it's just like. But I think I'm not saying like millennials are like the best, but I will say that like I see it less and less in our age group. But you know, it just depends.
I think also there are one issue I think our generation struggles with is recognizing if we're being manipulated by the algorithms. Um, like we're pretty good about spotting this is AI
Fake,
content
yes,
or oh
yes.
this is that, but like
Mhm.
I have
We're not immune to
found
all
yeah,
things.
it's so interesting because I found the backlash against AI to be really fascinating, and the fact that it is so targeted among specific groups, I find really odd. Um,
What
and
groups are you finding it?
so creatives, especially,
Okay.
like, you know, in the arts community,
Mhm.
there are a
Yeah.
ton of people who are anti-AI. And if you look
Mhm.
at their feeds are super anti-AI, and it's over and over and over again.
Mm.
And I and it's the type of thing where I'm like, okay, I can see why logically this would be a conclusion that creative people would would develop this opinion because of the IP issues, because of the energy issues, because creatives are more justice oriented typically, right? Like I can understand why this is happening, but I also am like wondering how much of this I wonder whether we're being manipulated because it is so harsh. And because typically when I talk to creatives, I feel like the conversation is more nuanced, and with this, it's not.
You're
And
saying it's like so hardcore that you're like, there's been
yeah,
like, are you saying that some of these are fake
it's not that the
people
content is
or
fake. That
okay?
I'm saying that the algorithms promote certain videos, and so
Oh,
like,
okay.
but also like I don't know. I
I
don't know.
will. I have a thought though. Okay, I think you're seeing that content. I'm not seeing that. So
Yeah,
that might be your algorithm because you're in the AI space. So maybe you're seeing
yeah,
other sides of it that I'm not.
yeah.
So I don't know.
But
Maybe that
also,
could be.
like, I have so many friends who are like, people who use AI are evil, and I'm like,
Mhm.
whoa, that's that's a leap.
Yeah, I do
Um,
think it is one. Like, do you ask them where they get that idea?
well, no, I see them reposting it on Insta stories.
Okay, so it's just because they see the content on Instagram.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
I talk to them in real life. Like, I've
Mhm.
had people yell at me for,
Wow.
yeah. So it's
Wow.
it's interesting. And I usually say, listen, my content is nuanced. We talk about the pros and the cons. We talk about the
Yeah.
energy impacts. We talk about the IP, we talk about AI psychosis. We talk about the IP issues. Like, I'm more reporting on it than like advocating, if that makes sense. I feel like personally. But it's even, like some local social media people who I've met in town are just like, how could you do this? How could you use these tools? And like the anger I find.
Mm. I think a lot of it has to do with their job security. I do think that's a huge part of it is if that's their what they've spent years doing. Like I get a little nervous about like some of the video editing tools because I'm like I'm a video editor and like it could replace me, but I'm also like I need to then develop new skills. You know, it's like you always need to be developing new skills no matter what. And so for me it's like living in fear is not the answer. It's like I just got to work harder and find better ways to use my skills. And I think that's just my. But I'm also an optimist. I think some people tend to sometimes just be pessimists, and sometimes you just can't listen to those people because it's like they don't. Everything is bad. Everything is bad, and I don't like. There are good and bad to everything. There is like I'm very much a gray area person. Like I don't think binarily. Like a lot of people do. They're like it's either good or it's bad, and I'm like there's a lot in between. And I don't. I think that politically. I think that about a lot of things, and I'm like there's goods and bads to everything. Like there's a reason that like you can't just be completely one side or the other. There's a reason that there's two sides. So again, that's like going down a rabbit hole. But I'm just saying, when it comes to AI, like yeah, like there are pros and cons to everything, just like AI. And I think you just have to find the good and do that. And I just don't worry about the bad. And that's just me.
I'm gonna ask you one last question before we get out of here because I know you got to go. But I want to end on a bit of a positive note, especially because we've been digging in some of this messiness that in the AI space. But a lot of your content does touch upon being neurodivergent, specifically like ADHD, some autism, things like that. I'm curious what your thoughts are because I know you use AI quite a bit when you're making your content. What do you think about AI being an amplifier for people who are neurodivergent?
I think it's really helpful. I'm going to be honest. I do think a lot of the struggles a lot of neurodivergent people have is in executive functioning, which is some of those mundane tasks or getting stuck in their thoughts. And for me, AI helps me get unstuck. It helps me with some of those automation. That's why I'm a big fan of automations. It's like I will forget. One of the things I use Amazon Alexa to remind me to take out the trash every week. It will say it out loud and say, Jenna, time to take out the trash. Stuff like that. Literally at 6:30 p.m. on Monday, it's Jenna, take out the trash. Stuff that I would have like completely forgot about otherwise. So for me, I think that the people I think that benefit the most are neurodivergence because of the way that it's a smarter brain than us. And unfortunately, we tend to forget things. Forgetfulness is part of the neurodivergent experience is sometimes you just either lose track of time or you just completely blank on things. And having AI be super smart and remember it for you, or like automation with emails. Like I don't ever have to email anyone with reminders, like, or my calendar, it'll tell me, hey, you have a meeting right now. Like, I do think that automations and AI super helpful for neurodivergent people. And so I'm very pro in that. And I'm in a lot of Facebook groups for neurodivergent people. And the sentiment is very pro AI. So it's very interesting compared to maybe the general population because people have just found it so helpful for them.
Absolutely. Well, and I have one tiny correction, which is I don't think you should be saying that AI is smarter than you. I think that AI is your type A best friend who helps you keep on track.
I wouldn't say it's smarter, but it just remembers.
It's better at remembering because it's automated too. It has to. That's what.
And
Yeah.
it will never replace a human in that sense of like it doesn't have real memories, and and it doesn't really think creatively as much. Like it's putting together information, but it's not creating new information, right? I think you've said that. Like it doesn't create new information. It's just combining old information together to create something that seems new and could be, but like we can actually create new things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jenna, we got to get out of here. So if people want to follow you online, how can they find you? Where do they go?
Well, Jenna Redfield, everything. So LinkedIn, Instagram. I don't even know what my TikTok is right now. Just search me on there. I'm sure I'll find it.
Probably something red.
Yeah, redthreadstudio.mn.com, jennaredfield.com. My Substack is the Optimization Toolbox, or jennaredfield.substack.com. My YouTube channel is Jenna Redfield. Just search my name. I have like so many links, and you'll find me.
Yeah, you'll find her. You'll find her everywhere. She is everywhere and everything.
LinkedIn is probably the best one. Just connect me on LinkedIn. I can connect with everyone.
I feel like that's the easiest for me as well. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Jenna, and thank you everybody for listening or watching today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I sure did. With my absolutely wonderful friend Jenna. If you liked the show, please make sure to like and subscribe or follow on any platform that you listen or watch this podcast on. And if you want to find out more about me, again, I'm Caroline Swift Holden. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me in a whole lot of other places too, including YouTube, and definitely check out the Substack. I post all my updates on Substack. So thank you so much again, everybody. Bye. Forget tech support. It's time for wedding support with Reverend Shabazz, the wedding officiant who keeps ceremonies rolling, not loading. Get hitched with the help of someone who will make it about your love story. Because who needs one more thing to worry about on their wedding day? Getting Hitched with Shabazz, the only support you need on your wedding day. Link in the description down below.